foxing double bill. Roy is out with David and David is out with Charlie, different Davids. And they have more thermal and night vision than you can shake a shooting stick at.
You never have enough pockets.
Do you know your Remington from your Winchester? We launch a series of films recorded at the Sako factory in Finland, all about rifle ammo. Weather cheaters and beaters. As we head into autumn, we reveal the results of our hunting jacket and trouser survey. Plus, is natural England muddying the waters when anglers think it's crystal clear? News and hunting YouTube complete the picture. Welcome to Fieldsports Britain. Last time, Roy had the new Digex night vision scope on his airgun for rats. This evening, it's on the centrefire for foxes. Although it's not lambing season, the farmer here is keen for Roy to keep the pressure on, so it's a welcome opportunity for an outing.
Did you ever miss a lamp?
Yes. I love lamping.
Got a kick coming out of every orifice.
I know. You never have enough pockets. Well, that's quite good. I mean, the identification on that badger is absolutely fantastic, and that is a good 300 yards away, I would say, 200-300 yards. Without a rangefinder, it's very difficult to say. You can quite clearly see, you can make out the black and white stripes on the face, you can see the body shape, you can see the legs. I'm just recording the image through the scope at the moment. It's not round chambered, we're just having a look at it. Unfortunately, we're getting haloing on the end of the moderator, reflecting back from the IR. But
Sure that's not me?
No, that's not you. It's definitely from the IR on here. But we need to obviously have a bit of a play with that and try and negate the flare that we're getting.
Roy starts calling. Unfortunately, we have a technical issue, which means we can't show you the shot through the scope. But you can tell it did the job.
Not a bad start there, Mr. Lupton.
Well, no, as I say, we're not going to be out for a huge session tonight. It was just to just get the kit out and give it a go, and it's proven itself within the first 30 seconds of calling there. So no, that was very good. Very, very nice dog fox. Responded, came in. The only reason I saw him coming was because I saw a rabbit exiting stage left, coming from the left-hand side, and it was making a hasty retreat. So I guess something was coming, and all of a sudden, the fox was in play right in front of us. It had come from a position that I wasn't thinking there'd be one coming from. It came from the left-hand side rather than from the wood on the right. So he was obviously already out and looking for food, and came in very, very keenly. But as I say, first one in, we'll go and have another couple of stands, see if we can account for a few more, and it's off for a nice cup of tea and Betty Buys.
Our second spot delivers another great reaction. David's infrared sensitive camera, boosted by the add-on IR lamp sitting on top, gets the shot. Roy is enjoying the clarity of the night vision, which we will share with you at some point, but not today. He's also enjoying the chip pan hair care look David seems to be sporting through the thermal.
You in thermal is not pretty.
Well, you in not IR.
No, I've never once ever claimed to be pretty, mate. You've never seen me in any model poses, have you? So, but no, as I say, that was good fun. Pardon?
I think there were some poses.
You have seen me in many poses. I'm just making sure that we haven't got another fox coming in laughing at us. But no, we'll go down and pick that one up and see what we've got. Again, another very, very pretty fox. What have we got here? Another dog.
While we retrieve our fox, the conversation turns to the practice of shooting deer at night using the same technology Roy's been using this evening. For various reasons and in different parts of the UK, it seems to have become acceptable.
I'm not entirely in agreement with the amount of people that are applying for night licences especially down here, people are being very, very heavy-handed with their fallow populations. And I know a lot of people are using the excuse of agriculture, etc. But I personally think that deer should be seen as a fantastic resource and respected as such. And after seeing the way that deer can be managed alongside agriculture in Sweden, and they can carry incredibly high game numbers of wild boar and deer and still produce fantastic yields on their cereals, etc. I can't see the sense in being as heavy-handed as we are at the moment with deer. We need to respect what we have got and cherish it a lot more than we do.
To be clear, shooting deer at night is illegal and can only be done under licence, whereas foxing is permitted with its very own challenges, as any fox shooter will know. Thank you, Roy. Next up, in his own mind, he's too hot to trot. It's David on the Fieldsports channel, News Stump.
This is Fieldsports Channel News. Shooting is exempt from the government's latest coronavirus restrictions. The Daily Mirror and Labour Party are claiming bias because Prime Minister Boris Johnson has been shooting before. The Mirror attacks grouse hunters who can still shoot in big groups as one of the sports exempted from the new rule of 6. Shooting in groups of 6 is not only an organised sport, along with league football, which is allowed, it's also run by businesses. Chris Packham is promoting Fieldsports. In a social media post, the BBC TV presenter waves around a copy of Fieldsports Journal, not Our Magazine, which includes an article he wrote. It also has an interview in which he admits he needs to do more research before repeating some of the accusations he makes about grouse moor management because they might be wrong. Packham repeats a claim he made a few weeks ago that he wants a truce with the Fieldsports community, although his roadmap for peace includes a ban on driven grouse shooting. Nature NGOs want Prime Minister Boris Johnson to centralise wildlife management. A group called the Making Space for Nature panel claims England is one of the world's most nature-depleted countries and needs bigger, better and more joined-up spaces for nature. In a second letter, a group of more than 25 nature charities urges the leaders of the 4 devolved nations to produce new targets to protect nature. Both groups ignore the work that Hunts and Shoots do to conserve nature. Centralising wildlife management benefits nature and wildlife charities and organisations. A SAB is on trial accused of falsely accusing a farmer of beating him up. The member of the West Midlands Hunt Saboteur Group gave the police edited video of the farmer allegedly kicking him to support his lies, the jury was told. According to Leicestershire Live news website, the man was trespassing on farmland when he claims he was attacked and he called the police. The prosecution says the video evidence was edited on a loop to make it look like there was an attack when there wasn't. The 35-year-old defendant denies he perverted the course of justice by making a false complaint of assault and providing Leicestershire Police with videos he knew had been altered. The Countryside Alliance is complaining about a tweet by Cumbria Police. The message encourages people to report illegal hunting and has a meme-friendly picture attached of a man on a horse with hounds, none of them doing anything against the law. Trail hunting is not a crime, and the Alliance says people should not waste police time by reporting it. It also points out that nobody who hunts with a registered pack of hounds has been convicted of a Hunting Act offence in Cumbria since the law came into force in 2005. Plus, the fell packs in Cumbria are unmounted. Gamekeepers want the Scottish Government to acknowledge that muir burn prevents wildfires. In a letter to First Minister Nicola Sturgeon, land managers from 7 moorland groups say managed fires reduce the fuel available to burn in the landscape and help to stop out-of-control wildfires by creating fire breaks. Leanne McLennan, coordinator of the moorland groups, says controlled muir burn can stop infernos that scorch everything. Fire chiefs from across the UK have consulted with gamekeeping groups on how to stop upland fires. Dog nappers have hit 3 kennels in Bedfordshire. Local gamekeeper and stalker Paul Childerley posted this plea for information on Instagram. One of the locations rumbled the thieves, but they took 2 spaniels from the others. If you have information about the thefts, contact Mel Arnold on Facebook or Bedfordshire Police. Link in the description below. Meanwhile, Will Wright is appealing for help after his 4 spaniels were taken from near Colchester in Essex. At the same time, the Metropolitan Police recovered 24 dogs from thieves in Orpington in Kent. They found another 25 in subsequent raids. One of the dogs has been reunited with its owner after 6 months. The RSPB is suggesting that a grouse moor is responsible for a hen harrier that went missing from one of its own sites. The RSPB blog acknowledges that 2020 is a bumper year for hen harrier fledglings and repeats the charity's standard line that the birds die on grouse moors, regurgitating last year's data to try and prove it. This year's data shows that 12 of the 19 successful nests were on grouse moors and 5 nests that failed were on RSPB land. Of the failures, 3 were predated. The RSPB blames coronavirus for lack of monitoring of the other 2 nests, both on Gelsdale, a former grouse moor in Cumbria, acquired by the RSPB, that's been criticised for its poor diversity. A single male was providing for these nests until it disappeared. The RSPB says, suspiciously. Meanwhile, the RSPCA has sacked a 5th of its staff. The 279 workers are mainly animal collectors and frontline staff, according to The Times. About 100 are inspectors. The paper says the animal charity is in turmoil, with 4 executives quitting recently. The organisation's PR machine is blaming coronavirus, although it was already £12 million in the red before the pandemic. At the going rate, The Times estimates that it will be down to £47 million by 2022. It makes about £140 million every year. Remington's ammunition arm is worth at least $65 million. That's the value of a bid from private equity firm JJE Capital, setting a reserve price for an auction later this month. Remington filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in July with an intent to sell its assets. A judge will consider approving the sale to the highest bidder on the 23rd of September. Earlier in the year, a plan fell through to sell the whole company to the Navajo Nation. Field and Game Australia has shared its data on duck movement. Researchers captured, banded and released ducks in the Conwar wetlands in Victoria State. Data on the movement of the ducks comes from tracking devices and returned bands. Antis in government down under tried to restrict duck shooting last season because they didn't know where the ducks are. Now they do. Thanks to Glenn Fowler for the story. In more research from down under, feral cat hunting by some indigenous communities is helping save wildlife. For 5 years, cats captured on the Kiwakura Indigenous Protected Area in Western Australia state were recorded and compared with the frequency of occurrence of cat tracks in a hunting zone and more remote unmanaged areas. Hunts took an average of about an hour, and a team of 4 hunters could catch up to 4 cats a day. Long-term data suggests threatened species have thrived in areas where there's hunting. And finally, a video doing the rounds on the internet shows a groom who's shell-shocked. A clip from Spain shows the bride and groom trying to leave their wedding reception, foiled by his friends. You are now to date with Fieldsports Channel News. Stalking the stories, fishing for facts.
Thank you, David. And there is more news on our website, link in the description below. Now, last year we had a memorable trip to Finland to try and destroy a Sako rifle. We also took the opportunity to try and explain some of the confusing bullet and cartridge terminology.
Right, Aki, there are many different calibers. Simplify it for me.
Well, there are hundreds of different calibers. Here we have very simplified way of doing it. So we have 222 family, 308 family, 3006 family, 375 family. And here we focus on the 308 family. So we have parent caliber 308, 6.5 Creedmoor, 243 Winchester, and 22250.
Yeah.
So each of these calibers have different bullet attached. They are all made from the same tube, basically. Yeah. So their physical size is very similar. So we have 308 Winchester, 6.5 Creedmoor, 243 Winchester, 250. So each of these have different bullet size.
Right, but the same case.
Well, same case size, physical size, yeah.
That's actually really interesting because a lot of people get confused with the simple thing with a 308. is actually the same case as a 22-250. That's correct.
Yeah, it's well, of course, this is very generalized simplification.
Yeah.
But if you look at them, they are very, in physical size, they are very similar.
Close, yeah.
Yeah, but different bullet size, and you get different performance out of the cartridges.
It's really interesting how flexible one case can actually go right from the 308 right down to the 22-250, and in different performances.
Yeah, exactly. For example, 250, you are able to get really high velocity, like over 4,000 FPS, and then you switch to heavier bullet in 308, and then you get more penetrating bullet and such. So different performance, same physical case, but different bullet.
Now, if you found that useful, there are another 10 films like that playlisted on our Field Tester YouTube channel, so fill your boots. Talking of clothing, what do you wear with boots? Jackets and trousers, of course. It may be t-shirt weather for me, but what do the Fieldsports channel viewers reach for when the rain lashes down? More than 500 of you filled out our shooting and hunting clothing survey, telling us which jackets and trousers you wear in the great outdoors and why you like them. So,
Okay!
let's illustrate the results with our very own Barbie and Ken Go Shooting. Now, Barbie likes style, but we didn't ask you about style. Anyway, she's 61 years old this year. The Fieldsports channel viewers' choice of shooting jacket for comfort is the Ridgeline Monsoon, and trousers are the Deer Hunter Ram. The Ridgeline Monsoon also wins for waterproofing. She'll like that. Now, Ken, you're looking a bit naked, and I can see you're after durability in your shooting kit. The Fieldsports channel viewer choices are the Zealand Woodcock jacket and Hakila Pro Hunter trousers. Barbie loves shopping and she loves sending stuff back, so which of the clothing manufacturers wins for customer service? It's Shooter King for you, and we will give Barbie the Shooter King Greenland jacket and Vanuatu trousers because they are popular among the viewers, and the Vanuatu trousers also win for waterproofing. Ken, you're all value for money. Following the Fieldsports channel choices, that means you shop at Shooter King for jackets, another Greenland for you, and Decathlon for trousers, so you can have the viewer's choice of 100 hunting trouser. Okay, let's get rid of Barbie and Ken before we get into trouble with Mattel. The big prizes are your favourite jackets and trousers, and here are the winners. When it comes to style, your third favourite trousers are the Deer Hunter Ram. Second place goes to the Zealand Woodcock range. The trouser winner is the Hakila Pro Hunter, and Hakila is your top choice of trouser overall. What about breeks, I hear you cry? Nearly 10% of you put down tweedy breeks and +4s and 2s as your preferred outdoor attire for what the Victorians called your understanding. Of course, modern breeks are, traditionalists close your ears, not made of tweed but of stretch fabric. There goes the neighbourhood. Top manufacturer for jackets is Deer Hunter, but its Montana Mouflon and Ram jackets are pushed into second place again by Hakila Pro Hunter. Let's have Barbie and Ken back for a curtain call. As typical Fieldsports channel viewers, they are both entirely clothed in Hakila Pro Hunter. Well done, those Danes. And a quick hats off to a viewer called Benjamin from the USA, whose preferred hunting top, he tells us, is a Woolrich jacket that's 73 years old. Older than Ken, who's just 59 this year. We are certainly spoilt for choice when it comes to hunting clothing. Next, it's my foxing outing with Fieldsports channel backer David Pomeroy.
We're in North Dorset. We're going to look for foxes. On the first farm they milk sheep, so they lamb at all sorts of strange times of year, and they have been taking a few. We'll try and keep on top of them anyway.
The first farm unfortunately does not produce foxes, but it produces hares. Thanks, says David, to Foxshooting. You can see them in black via the video from David's Pulsar Thermion scope. It's not been an especially unusual year for fox litters, says David, though he has had to adapt his shooting to fit in with lockdown.
9 times out of 10 I go out on my own, or I do have my son with me sometimes. Yeah, we've been self-isolating, as in we haven't been seeing anyone much at all. I've stopped calling in to see the farmer, but I've been ringing him and telling him what's going on. So yeah, not too bad. And the foxes seem to be, you shoot one and 3 come to the funeral. It was a good spring for them. The weather was just right for them, and I think they're burgeoning out into the countryside now, and we're beginning to pick up quite a few. They're still in family groups. I've noticed there's 3, sometimes 4, all within 100 yards of one another. So they're still in their family groups. And I've also noticed 1 or 2 late litters must have been, because they're extremely small, 1 or 2 of them, still.
So where next?
The second place is a small shoot, a farmer shoot, and they've put a few pheasants down this year. No duck, but they put the pheasants down, and we're just looking over there. The neighbours have just combined the last of the barley, and I think they were in there, so we might possibly see something tonight. Unfortunately, next door is a field of maize, and so they might pop into there, but we'll have a look.
This place does produce. One animal ventures out of the maze, lured by David calling.
It's a sort of a squealing rabbity type, but seems to work quite well on these quite quiet, still nights in autumn, especially. They seem to react to that quite well. And I've found that if you make too much noise, they just go. They've just had enough. That's it. What the hell is that noise? It's making far too much.
Well done, that subtle call. Even though he didn't find the fox until the following morning, I have to give a shout out for the torch we use, a 3-night T2, and there's a link to it in the description. It's tiny but extraordinarily bright. David runs through the kit he uses on our Field Tester channel. Please go and have a look at that. Thank you, David, and I give that torch a plug because we are able to give one of them away as a raffle prize to the Fieldsports Nation. Details about that kind of thing if you join them, and I will talk about how to do that later in the show. Now, Natural England is up to something fishy in Norfolk. Ben O'Rourke checks it out.
This is where my home is. I was born and bred on the Broads. I learned to fish on the Broads. I learned to swim in the Broads. I learned to use boats on the Broads. It really is the place where I feel at home.
The Norfolk Broads attract people from all over the world. It doesn't take long to see why, with the picturesque scenery, wealth of wildlife and plentiful fish, sometimes.
How's your luck been so far today?
Well, I've had a few fish, a couple of nice bream, but which is very rare, especially in here. We usually get a lot of small ones. But
any particular bait you're using?
Bit F1 sweet, bit brown breadcrumb, bit river mix, maggots and hemp.
Is it like a secret recipe?
No, not at all.
But there's anger bubbling below the surface after Natural England applied to block off a prime bream breeding ground, Hoveton Great Broad, as part of what it says is restoration work.
So anglers in the Norfolk Broads are very passionate about what they do. So we've worked with the Environment Agency for many years as a voluntary workforce. So providing free manpower, free boats, free levels of information, data to them to help their fisheries team to manage the Broads. That information, that data, all that work that's been collected has effectively been thrown in the bin by the senior managers of the Environment Agency, who've chosen to take the stance that their own fisheries specialists don't know what they're talking about.
The data includes evidence collected by Royal Navy sonar equipment of fish movements into Hoveton Great Broad,
which is completely inaccessible. So this is the Broad that is going to effectively become landlocked for as far as fish are concerned.
The aim of the project is actually just Natural England wanting to make the water more clear and have more underwater plants.
So the concept behind the biomanipulation is that you remove the fish. The fish, particularly the small fish, feed on insects such as Daphnia. The Daphnia in turn feed on the algae cells that create coloured water. So if you remove the fish, you get more Daphnia, you get less algae, you get clear water, you get better light penetration, and different plants can grow within the Broad.
I don't think there's a problem with the algae. That's no different than what it was when I used to fish years ago.
So this is not clear enough for them?
Apparently this isn't clear enough water, but as you can see there's plenty of plant growth.
More underwater plants means more work for the Broads Authority, which needs to clear paths for boats.
So the ironic thing about the lack of commercial boats during the lockdown period was that we saw water clarity which was even clearer than what we're seeing today. The knock-on effect of that was that the Broads Authority had to spend extra money and resource into actually cutting the weed that Natural England are trying so hard to increase. Surely these two organisations should be talking together and making sure that the right efforts are going on in the right places.
Natural England says blocking the entrances to the Broad will mean the bream will breed in Salthouse Broad on the other side of the river. How Natural England knows this is unclear. Salthouse is another private Broad, but there's a big difference. It is open to the public, whereas Hoveton is not.
Great Hoveton Broad is a private Broad. It's owned by certain landowners, and they have a small nature trail which is available for the public, which is accessed via this quay heading here. Unfortunately, most of the time it seems to be shut. So currently, at the moment, it's actually closed to the public. So there's no access to this Broad, which is receiving all this Lottery Heritage Fund money for restoration work that most of the public will never get to see the benefit from.
The tender for building the fish barriers is worth £249,000.
So this is the second proposed site of a fish barrier. So this is known as the dam. This is the main entrance onto Great Hoveton Broad. As you can see, it's quite a substantial piece of water, and the plans are to put a big structure across here to stop all fish from being able to enter and exit the Broad. So the plan is to choose a time when the fish are naturally swimming from the Broad out into the river. So with weather and tidal influences would promote that. To then close the barriers and then to electrofish the Broad to remove any remaining fish stocks, which is fairly ambitious when we're talking about a Broad that's 100 acres.
It's not clear how much the fish removal contract is worth, but the Broads Angling Services Group estimates it at up to £150,000 and is worried it could turn out to be a waste of time.
One of the concerns that has also been raised is that this is a big body of water through here, and that actually in times of flood it soaks up an awful lot of the water, and if water is restricted from going in there because these fish barriers are clogged with floating debris, then it could potentially increase the flooding risk for places like Horning and for Wroxham. So one of the ironic things is we're told by the river engineers that flooding wouldn't be an issue because actually in times of flood the river and the Broad connect over this land, which kind of you would imagine would nullify the effect of the fish barrier in the first place. So every time we get a flood, the fish have an access back onto the Broad. The whole process needs to be repeated. This restoration of Broads is important, but in the process of doing so we can't damage the fish stocks that support all the wildlife such as the otters, the cormorants, the herons, the grebes and the kingfishers that are species that are so iconic to Norfolk and its tourism. If you have a drastic reduction in fish stocks, you're going to see a drastic reduction in predatory birds such as the cormorant that survive on them. The bird organisations and the bird watching community see cormorants as a key species indicator.
The BASG has a petition you can sign if you are concerned about Natural England's plans. This week the group starts lobbying MPs as part of a sustained campaign. Back at the shore though, the anglers have more immediate goals.
Had much luck?
4 or 5 good bream, a few roach. That's about it really at the moment. pass and shoulder bream, I believe. No, obviously not. Got another one on.
Is that bream?
That is, yeah.
So that's what you're aiming for, is it?
Well, anything really. Use a maggot, just see what sort of turns up.
Thank you, Ben. And while the advertisers pay for our lovely feature films, Ben's work as news editor is paid for by you, the viewers. On which, please can I welcome our new YouTube members, Big G, Greben Hunters, which we featured on Hunting YouTube a couple of weeks ago and which joins as a champion, Ollie Foster, JP, who's another champion, and Ali Wood. The last person to join on Patreon is Alexander Lever, who joins as a super supporter. Thank you to you. And you can join on Facebook too. We have 14 members there, with the newest to join Alan Wilson and Tim Blackman. Welcome to you. How to join this merry band, which now numbers more than 600 people, at fieldsportschannel.tv/fieldsportsnation. Now from Norfolk to the rest of the world of hunting and shooting on YouTube, it is Hunting YouTube. This is Hunting YouTube, which aims to show the best hunting and shooting videos that YouTube has to offer. Dave Carey Shooting makes a clarion call to overseas shooters. Come to the Trump Turnberry Hotel, he says, and get your shooting arranged by Case Sport. And his first case in point is the forest estate on the edge of the Galloway Forest. Our old friend Pedro de Ampuero puts out this film in English. It's an introduction to his big film project on YouTube this autumn, a 6-location road trip around the Red Rut in Spain. Yarrick Anderson is walking up quail over pointers. He lives in southern Russia, not far from the Black Sea. One of the things I love about YouTube is joining people from around the planet as they go hunting their way. This is pigeon shooting in Pakistan on the Adam Mayo Hunter channel. I recommended a film about turtle dove shooting and got told off in the comments because turtle doves are rare. They're certainly declining, but it is only shooters who are working to conserve them, with the Maltese, for example, now breeding and releasing more turtle doves than they shoot. Here is turtle dove shooting with 410s on Italian channel Caccia for Passion. Jagdvloggen from Sweden is digging out foxes with a terrier in this film. His motto is more hunting movies, less nature movies. Maybe not everyone's cup of mint tea, Ahmed Hunter in Algeria takes you to a real-life falconry camp in the desert. They fly the birds and they eventually bring down a bustard. Yes, bustards were rare until Gulf families started their massive breed and release programs in Morocco and Kazakhstan. And finally, thanks to Patrick Angier for suggesting this film, Il Pescatore Completo, the complete angler, showing the simple fly fishing they enjoy in the streams of northern Italy and put out by clothing company Patagonia. That's it for this week. I put all these films into a playlist for you. Click on the I symbol top right or check this film's description. If you have a YouTube film you would like us to pop into the weekly top 8, email me the link, charlie@fieldsportschannel.tv. Well, that's it for this week. If you haven't done so, please whiz over to our website, fieldsportschannel.tv. You can click like us there on Facebook and on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, pop your email address into our register page and we'll contact you about this show, Field Sports Britain. It's at 7 p.m. UK time every Wednesday. And this has been Field Sports Britain. Good hunting, good shooting, good fishing, and from what may be the last of the great, beautiful British summer weather, goodbye.